Monopoly, the all too famous board game. Everyone has heard of it. Many have cried, while some have laughed at the pain of others when they manage to clinch another win for the third time in a row. It is a game that causes upheaval and ruins friendships whenever it is played. To many, playing Monopoly is like fighting a war of attrition. It takes hours and hours of minimal, obvious procedural decision making. You roll the dice, you move your token, and you pay the rent of the property that you land, and repeat. And whenever somebody is winning, it just becomes a slow grind towards victory, often taking hours and hours, knocking each player out throughout the course of the game. I'm sure many of you would have experienced that feeling of anger and fury when your friend manages to evade your rent by landing exactly one square away from your most well-built property. Or maybe that feeling of pain when you lose half the money in your hands after a series of unfortunate dice rolls. Because of this, many people don't really like the game of Monopoly. They don't think it's fun because it's just too heavily reliant on luck. But I'm here to tell you otherwise. At first glance, it does seem that the dice rolls do dictate where you're going to be moving on the board. But upon closer examination, you'll be able to see that although luck is indeed quite a significant factor of the game, a player's strategic decision making can often turn the tides of the game. Monopoly was one of the games I used to play as a kid, but back then I didn't really understand the true depths of the game. We would just sit down on the table, roll the dice, and try to bankrupt the other player. Back then, we didn't really understand. We just thought it was a game that required you to use your money with caution, and that everything else was just dictated by the gods of chance. However, as I grew up, I played more and more games, and slowly I realized there was actually a lot more to the game itself. A few months ago, on a sunny September afternoon, me and my friends decided to play a game after school. We thought a game would take around 2 hours, that's the average game length of Monopoly. But after a 2-hour afternoon after one 2-hour afternoon session that we went through, the game was still far from over. However, we just decided to continue because one of the players was on $10 and very close to bankruptcy. But guess what? It took us another 2 afternoon sessions and even one morning session where you had to wake up at 6 a.m. to finish the game off. The game itself, though, was running quite smoothly. During the 2 days, we bought and developed properties that we owned. And by the end of the 2 days, we all had around $2,000 in our hands. And most of my properties were up to around 2 or 3 properties, two or three houses, except for the pink set. I had 2 of the properties, and my friend had the other. Now, that's actually quite a big problem because I couldn't develop any of my properties. As the rule stated, I needed a full set before I could build it. So, like any logical person would do, I offered to trade my most expensive property, the blue property, with his pink property. But no matter how many times I tried and tried, no matter how many times I asked over and over again, he just simply refused. His stubbornness ultimately left me closer and closer towards bankruptcy. Because every time when somebody lands on my pink properties, instead of earning $750 from a full set with houses, I earned 12. Worse yet, I just started landing on these 2 particular properties over and over again. And when I mean over and over, I mean 7 times in 10 minutes. Absolutely horrendous. I just lost thousands of dollars. That's nearly all the cash I had in my hands. And with that, the chances of me winning the game was essentially squandered. And soon enough, I lost the game. But surprisingly, the person who won the game was a person who had $10 at the start of day 1. He somehow managed to cling on and go undetected for quite a long period of time before profiting off of our misfortunes. So yeah, I lost. But why did I lose? I'm sure many of you would have first thought it's all because bad luck. Yes, the series of dice rolls that I got were indeed quite atrocious because I landed on the same properties over and over again. but it shouldn't actually be that surprising. The jail square is by far the most commonly landed square on the whole Monopoly board, whether that will be rolling 3 doubles, getting the go to jail chance card, or simply landing on the go to jail square on the top right corner. And because of that, the properties immediately after the jail square would naturally become more visited. From a more mathematical point of view, as 6, 7, 8, 9 are the most common dice rolls you can get from rolling 2 die, the orange set becomes the most visited property on the board. And indeed, that was where I landed very frequently. So, yeah, it isn't all entirely because of bad luck. Monopoly also requires constant communication and negotiation that goes beyond the simple exchanges of property. Negotiations requires us as players to assess the value of what we're offering with what we want to get in return. And by leveraging property, housing, and cash, you'll be more likely to secure some sort of favorable deal or, at the very least, a mutually beneficial outcome. However, just like in real life, not all negotiations will go according to plan. In the game, my friend, who was also my opponent, was extremely stubborn. He just simply did not want to trade the properties with me. What I had thought was a mutually beneficial outcome for the both of us was misinterpreted as a gesture to try and outlast one another and to profit as much as possible from the full set. And so he just never really wanted to trade. But this had the unintended side effect of leaving both the pink and the blue set extremely underdeveloped. And because of that, we both lost. To truly be able to win at a game of Monopoly, you need to be able to come up with strategies and quickly adapt to overcome setbacks, like what the eventual winner did when he was on $10. He made a lot of sacrifices early on and ended up in quite a dicey situation. But with a few trades throughout the game, he strengthened his position, and ultimately, with a bit of luck, he managed to win the game. But what makes a game fun should not solely be determined the outcome of the game. No, it's actually a lot more than just that. Games like Monopoly, they often test a player's adaptability, resilience, and patience. To be able to sit on a table, to think strategically, and to negotiate to make better deals. Monopoly is also a game about human interaction. It reveals the dynamics of trust and competition. It shows that even the closest of friendships can often be strained when faced with the pursuit of victory. And yet, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just an opportunity for us to play a game and relax. So, the next time you decide to sit on the table and play a game of Monopoly, just remember it is not a game that's solely based on luck, nor is it a game that's like fighting a war of attrition. It has a lot of strategic decision making, and most importantly, it is just a time for you to relax with your friends and family. So just remember, embrace the journey. Try not to lose a few friends along the way, and enjoy the roller coaster ride that is the game of Monopoly. Thank you.